She is 40 plus years in the design, decorating, staging industry, founded and operated the Decorating and Staging Academy in 1999. And she's also the creator of the Color Confidence System. And she's appeared on TV multiple times. And so, again, I'm really excited to present Joanne. And by the way, she is not feeling well, but she still made her flight yesterday because I would have had to basically disappoint well over 100 brokers, and I would have been probably enemy number one in the real estate world around here. So I really appreciate her just kind of gunning it up and still being here to present for you. So this is Joanne.
Thank you, everybody. Yes, the poor people sitting around me on the plane as I hacked all the way from Pennsylvania. You know, you could see them keep moving further and further. I felt very sorry for. So forgive me because I do have this cold thing, but I'm going to do my best to share with you. As John said, I've been in the business for 41 years. I was one of those little girls that when I was little, I think I was 4 and I was moving my bed around my bedroom. And by the time I was 12, my mom's friends were calling me and asking me if I would come help them rearrange their furniture. I mean, it's just what I always loved to do. When I, back in the 70s, shortly after graduating from high school, I did not go to college at that time. I didn't go to college at all, actually. I started a wallpapering and painting business, and only because I wanted a legal way to get into houses. I couldn't have cared less about wallpapering and painting. And on top of that, I got my real estate license, again, for the same reason, because I could say, I have a showing at any house anywhere in my county, get the keys or the code, and be able to go look in the house. But what I found was, and this was before we'd heard of staging or anything, I just found that people were showing houses that you shouldn't be showing to anybody. So I started, out of more my own addiction, rearranging things. So I would go to their house, and again, I really didn't even care if I sold the house. I just wanted to make it look pretty. Well, in the process, I was selling houses, and I was selling houses when interest rates were 18%. And I was the only one in the office selling houses, and I was too naive to know that I shouldn't have been selling houses. But I was so excited about just the process of making a home beautiful and what it could do. And so then I started hearing about this whole staging thing. It's like, hey, well, that's what I've been doing. So I went on to build a business. My painting and wallpapering business only lasted a couple of years. My clients would call me back and say, you were the sloppiest painter I have ever hired, but I loved your ideas about my house. Because, of course, I'd be on the ladder and say, hey, Mary, move the sofa over there, because I had that great eye. So over the year, I tried to get every bit of education that I could. I joined every design-related organization. There were no staging ones. And here I am 41 years later, still working in an industry that I love. As of mid-April, I will be the grandmother of 15, and I didn't really do any of the work, so I can't take any credit, but it is such a blessing in my life. But what I love watching is my grandchildren, how the fact that I love decorating, they've always seen me do stuff, and my children growing up, we had 5 kids, and they always said, I will never remodel anything in my own house. Well, every one of them got the bug. And so now I see my grandchildren with the same bug. So it's a legacy that we are passing on. So tell me, how many of you offer staging? Okay. How many of you hire professionals or recommend professionals? Okay. And what do you find your biggest challenges are? Either way, what do you find your biggest challenges are out there in this market? Anyone?
Scheduling.
I'm sorry?
Scheduling, getting them out there fast enough.
Yes, because that's always a problem. Time is of the essence.
Working with what's there, that's always a huge challenge.
Working with what's there, yeah. Vacant staging is much easier. You can bring in all kinds of pretty pieces. Occupied is much more difficult, and you're definitely right about that. Anyone else?
Getting the clients to pay for staging, so then I end up trying to do it myself.
Helping them understand the value, and that's part, as an agent, that's part of your job. And let's be honest, I mean, bottom line is we meet with these people. We just want the listing, right? We just want to get the listing so we can end up making money. And as you're working to get the listing, it's like you're kind of stepping on eggshells. You hate to say, hey, and by the way, your house really stinks and we need to do something about it. So it is a very tenuous relationship. And yet we have an obligation to help them to do the best that they can be. You had a comment?
Oh, it's just the difficult sellers. You know, I work with sellers just don't want to let go of what they think is their good case.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 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 yes. And it is difficult because, you know, it'll amaze me. I'll walk into a house and I think someone came into this room, stood back and went, oh, doesn't this look pretty? No, it doesn't look pretty. And how to get there without insulting them. So one of the things that I do when I go out to the house is I carry the little stickers that you buy, and they're red, green, yellow stickers. And as I'm walking through the house with them, I put stickers on things. And what I talk to them about is green means go. If it has a green sticker on it, it should go out of the house. No judgment. I'm not saying anything about how it looks. All I'm saying is we're selling square footage. And so green means go. That means you can throw it away, you can sell it, or you can do whatever you need. But green means go. Red means stay. It has the red sticker on it. We want to keep it in the house because it enhances what you have. And yellow means we got to think about that one a little bit. So even as realtors, I think you can still kind of start the process there, because what we have to do is take the emotion out of the process and help them to feel a little better. Also, what I love about it is when I leave, they already can do something. You know, green means go. Okay, we need to get rid of this. And sometimes someone will say to me, you don't like that? It has nothing to do with liking it. It has to do with selling your house. We're selling square footage. We're selling a look to a certain clientele. So we want to eliminate the things that take away from that. So here's a great example of staging. Yes? Now, if she was on Tinder, which one would you pick? Which way? You switch right or switch left. I don't know which one it is because my Tinder days are not ever going to happen. But the bottom line is I don't care what we do or who we are in life. The way we look and the visual impact that we have from something makes a huge difference. I'm doing a big seminar tonight, and the subject of my seminar is the power of the big red robe. And years ago, when I first did a realtor seminar, I thought, how can I really get their attention? Because remember, this was before we'd even heard about staging. I live in Erie, Pennsylvania. It's about as rigid of a community as you can be. It's like, oh no, we've been doing it this way for 40 years. It'll do just fine. So on my way to have the realtor presentation, I had a big long red robe, and I called my contact there and said, held up in traffic, which in Erie we really never are held up in traffic, but held up in traffic. I'm running a few minutes late. You guys get started and I'll be there. So when I walked in the door, I had on my big red robe. And on my big red robe, I had put magazines. I had pinned magazines on there. I had stuffed animals. I had all the accoutrements that we find laying around the house each day. There's kids' toys. There's old newspapers. So my whole robe was covered with this. I also put a hair clip in my hair that had curlers in it. And then I had one of those cigarettes that you can buy that they're not really cigarettes, but they blow smoke. So I walked in the door and just stood in the doorway, you know, kind of Jean Harlow, and said, how many of you are trying to sell a house that looks like this? And they got it. They got it. You know, it's the visual. It's what we're doing. I've done it with homeowners groups. And, you know, the one thing that I find is when we're trying to sell what we are and who we are, we have to touch people at a place they can understand, and humor can help with that. At that point, I was younger, thinner, took out the hair clip, took off the robe. Luckily, I was dressed underneath, and had on a nice black dress and black pumps, and say, now here I am, stage. So, you know, which one of me would you take on a first date, you know? So help your people to understand that the power of visuals is amazing. One of the things that I think is so difficult is it is very easy to say, you know, we're going to cut the price $10,000 because it's not real, right? It's just a number on paper. By God, if we could have a pile of $1 bills that equaled $10,000 and you were doing the, you know, to your client and say, this is how much you will lose if we cut it $10,000 instead of maybe spending a couple of $1,000s on the staging process. But because it doesn't feel real to them, I think it is a harder sell. So the more convicted you are, the more you're going to be able to help them. So basically, the goal with staging is to maximize the return on their investment and minimize the days on market. So in this area, anyone have an idea what is the average days on market in this area? 4?
Yeah.
75?
725.
725? Oh,
Yeah. It depends if they have a review date. Now, review date, 3 to 4 days, and maybe 7 days if they have a review date.
okay, so houses are turning pretty quickly,
Yeah.
which makes it a little more difficult to sell staging because if houses are sitting on the market for 30 days, then it's like, okay, well, we can get that down to 2 weeks. So
The
yes,
4-day houses are staged.
the 4-day
Yeah.
houses are
Yeah.
staged.
Yeah.
Excellent point. Excellent point. And so for you, you might compile some of those stats even within your own office to say, you know, we sold 50 houses, the 45 that were staged were on the market 4 days, and the 5 that were not are still on the market. So that's some interesting numbers that you can have at your disposal. Staging is not about being dishonest or misleading. And I have heard that before, and I'm sure some of you have too. Oh, well, you're trying to trick the customer. No, I'm not trying to trick the customer. The bottom line is that just like us as people, you change where your focus is depending on what your better features are. Here I am now at 65. I'm having a harder time trying to find the good features. So I'm working a little harder at it. But it's the same thing with our home. We're maximizing the things that are selling points and we're minimizing the negatives that take away from the money. It isn't decorating, but you better know how to decorate. You better understand those principles of design. And let me tell you, I see an awful lot of people out there doing their own staging that have no idea what they're doing. They know they like this color palette and they like this look, and every one of their jobs look exactly the same way. It isn't about personalizing, and this is the part that's hard for our clients, and that's why using the dots helps to take away from that personal element of it. The other thing that I will sometimes do with a client, if I'm having a problem helping them to understand, I'll give their room a score. So I'll walk in and I'll look at a room, and I've done this for enough years that I can kind of pull a number out of my head, and I base it on how clean it is, how much clutter is in there, the element of maintenance, does it feel like it's been updated, how it smells, and then just the overall value of where I'm sitting at. And I might say to them, you know, on a scale of 1 to 100, this room would score a 45. Now, again, what I find often is it takes the personal. I'm not saying, John, this is the ugliest room I've ever seen. What I often find they say back to me is, what do I need to do to bring up my score? So think of different ways to send the message to your client. And then the other thing, staging is not about creating a statement, but it is about creating memory triggers. Remember the house that. Remember the house that. Not remember the house that smelled like cats and dogs and cigarette smoke. So that's the other place where I can get the homeowner involved. John and Mary, the average number of houses that a new buyer will look at is 12. In my market, it's 12. I'm not sure what your market is. So, pardon me?
Not 12 houses.
Okay, in my market
We're
it's
waiting
12.
for the one that's going on while we're sitting here.
Oh, yeah. So again, what I will often say to the homeowners, if someone came to see your house, what would their remember the house that memory be of your house? What is going to make your house stand out? So we want our target market to think this house is worth every penny. It's in move-in condition. The kids will love this. This is the feeling that we're trying to get from the potential buyers, right? So some of the things that we want to think about as we are looking at the houses that we often tend to do is we don't take advantage of all of the space in a room. So this is a good looking room, yes, shows well, but one of the things that often happens is we tend to address what I call the power zone of the room, 36 inches and below. So we stage that, we bring in the furniture, and then nothing happens up above it. So what happens is I just lost 2/3 of what I'm selling there, because what I'm selling is square footage. So one of the things that you want to talk to your client about, we need to do some things to bring the eye up into, again, what I call the power zone, which is 36 to 72 inches, and the skyline zone, 72 inches and above. So we want to do things so now the house is worth more money because I'm seeing more room. Here it's almost like the room stops between the railing and the sofa. Do you see how that's kind of your drop point? And so you don't even appreciate, you can tell that room has high ceilings, but you haven't taken advantage. So one of the things that I encourage you to do, look at a room in a different way. Have a critical eye. Look at a line, shape, and form and say, what's happening? Where does my eye stop? Because the more you do that, the more it'll help your clients. The other thing is in those occupied houses that we were talking about, the power zone, 36 to 78 inches, is where the eye will rest the most. So this is a good place in the houses that are occupied to talk to the homeowners about, do they have a lot of artwork that's groupings? Because every time you have a grouping, whether it's furniture or art and accessories, if my eye has to stop and recognize each piece, the room keeps moving in on me. So we want to make sure that that power zone is cleaner, but yet still has something attractive. So number one, we all know it begins with the seller. And of course, that's the hardest part, isn't it? Helping them to understand. But according to the National Association of Realtors, and this is an older survey, for every $100 invested, the return is $400. So again, I didn't make up that number. Your head honchos have said, hey, we've been doing this all across the country, and this is what we see. That's a powerful thing to be able to say to your potential clients. Your job is to help them get the highest dollar. That is what you have been sworn to do. You have an obligation to them. And, oh, thank you, honey. They're trying to keep me sugared up, jazzed up, everything they can. The other thing that's important about staging also is impressing the seller, but also it is about your own personal reputation. You want the reputation of, I want to list my house with them because their properties always show well. So it's kind of like you're creating this level of excellence within your own company that make people want to play with you. And if you're uncomfortable delivering negative info, this is where a professional stager can come into play. Because sometimes it is hard to say to someone, I think the hardest thing is to tell someone their house smells bad. That's a really hard one to do. Sometimes I'll just have like a little coughing jag, and then it's like, do you have cats or dogs? Because I think I'm very aware of that, So one of the things that you also want to think about when you are staging, and it's one of the things that I like so much about SDN, is making sure that your jobs don't all look the same. The other day, I was on, someone popped up on my Facebook page that is a stager in Michigan. And she was showing pictures of a house that she had just done, and she did a great job. But underneath her picture post, 2 people commented, "Oh, I remember those chairs. You use them in my house." And so making sure that every job looks fresh and new. So maybe you use those chairs again, but this time you use them in the bedroom, not in the same configuration that you did in the living room. All right, the next thing that we have to have a good understanding is who our target market is. Who is it we're trying to approach, and what is the look that they would want? Now, how many of you get various catalogs? West Elm, Ballards, Pottery Barn. So if you don't, it's important that you do, because that is going to help you to identify what your target market is looking for. And another thing that you can get, I'm sorry, let me grab this. And the other thing I encourage you to do is get, this is an industry magazine. It's called Home Accents Today. It's not anything that your clients would ever see, but these industry magazines are going to tell you what's happening, what's coming, what the new things are, so you're ahead of the trends. So homeaccentstoday.com. And this was free. I don't know if it still is, but there's a few of them out there. Another one is called accessorymerchandising.com. And they're all industry magazines. One of the most important things that you need to do when you are staging, whether you're doing it yourself or you're bringing in a stager, is, as I said, getting out of your own way. What you think is beautiful, what you think is fabulous, may not be what you need for that target market. And the other thing that is important, if someone walks into a house and says, "Oh, Joanne must have helped you," I know I did a lousy job. Everything needs to look fresh and new. You should not have a signature look. How many of you are familiar with Chip and Joanna Gaines? Who isn't? And the one thing is, I love the show. I love them. They're adorable. But every job looks the same. I'm almost bored with watching the show because I know exactly what's going to happen. We're going to do some kind of white paint. We might go to taupe. I mean, we might push the envelope a little bit, and we're going to have shiplap. And we're going to have those rustic elements. So it's a great look, but make sure you don't get that signature look. Make sure you know who your target market is. So as we look at these 2 rooms, we can see that those rooms would appeal to different people. And one of the things that I want you to think about is, don't be afraid. Now, the room on the left is a little too bold for a staging thing. But imagine if the wall was painted light and you had that cobalt blue dresser sitting in there. So again, remember the house that. The other thing that I want you to think about that we tend to do so often is we will do everything in neutrals, and then we put the pops of color in the middle of the room. So it's like, I have cream sofa, I have cream walls, I have cream chairs, I have cream rug, but I'm going to add a little color, and I'm going to put some blue pillows on the sofa. So what do my eyes see first when I walk into the room? The blue pillows. So that means that this room just went like this. So if I'm putting blue pillows in the sofa, I need blue on the perimeter of the room. So that pushes the wall out. Yes.
Before you, so I staged my own house for you. Because stagers, you are me.
Oh,
I
okay.
love you. I am even from Pennsylvania. But how do you, so that whole 36, you know, I'm always saying, I'm selling the height of this room.
Absolutely.
I'm not selling your furniture. And they won't let me move their things to where I know they have to be, so I have to do it myself. Because they get upset when I move their things. How do you get around that?
I think part of it is maybe if you're, as you do it more, you're going to start building a reputation, and they're going to trust you. And I think sometimes too, you know, I'll say to people all the time, it's just furniture. if I move it and you don't like it, we can put it back. But let's just see what we
No,
do.
it's the stager who won't let me. The stager gets insulted.
Oh, the stager gets insulted.
Because I'm the real estate agent, I know.
I
I
see.
need red in
I
the
see.
corner, and in the corner, like you just said.
Then you need to get a different stager.
Yeah.
Because
Well, can't they just let me, I have tweaked their stuff.
yes, and a lot of stagers have something right in their contract that you can't tweak it.
Yeah.
And so you just have to make sure that you're hiring a stager that knows their stuff
Yeah, good luck.
to begin with. You
Can I
know?
hire you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, John would move me in tomorrow if he could. But you know, that is the key. And you need to have a conversation with your stager about your expectations.
That's why I do it myself.
Yes.
That is why I do it myself.
Can you talk about some of the ideas for staging your top two-thirds, other than obviously the artwork?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, let's just real quickly because our time is tight. But, you know, the trend has been nothing at the windows when you're staging. And I don't believe in that. I think that having some softness at the windows, especially if you're selling a great outdoor view, it's like matting on a picture. It just brings it up. So if you have an 8-foot ceiling, paint the curtain rod. First of all, make sure you're not using those little skimpy curtain rods. I hated those when they came in. And so if your clients have them, you want to get rid of them. So get something that has some weight to it, like an 1.5 inch diameter. Paint it out the wall color if your ceilings are low, but it still gives you dimension. And you can never go wrong with just great white shears or linen panels. And don't be afraid, mount them so they're out on the wall. The other thing is taking advantage of, you know, the lighting. I mean, lighting anymore is such a phenomenal part of it. And so if you're doing an occupied and the furniture is looking pretty bad and you know you can't replace all of it because it is occupied, do some things to pull it up. Get some great art in there and do something different with the lighting. So now that's going to bring the eye up. And I'd like to talk more, but so the next thing is making sure that you understand color. This is where it all begins. And if you don't get the color right, you're not going to do anything. Doesn't matter what you do with the furniture. So the one thing that I want you to understand is, and can we just bring the lights up for a minute? Trish, John, someone take care of me. So the one thing that I want you to look at is, you know, we talk about the name of a color, the hue of a color. You know, what is your favorite color? Well, my favorite color is blue, but what does that mean? Or my favorite color is orange. What does that mean? So one of the things that you want to look at when you're looking at colors with your client is using colors that complete, not compete. Now, I'm going to show you 3 things. Please do not look at my nails because I didn't have time to get them done. And I lost 2 of them on my way here on the plane. But other than that, I'm very together. Okay, so what we are looking at here is 3 versions of orange. Now, when we look at this neutral, we would call that beige, tan, taupe, something like that. The reality is that it's orange. So one of the things that I encourage you to do is really pour over a color deck. As we look at these 3 oranges, what does this orange do to this neutral? Can any of you see? It looks grayer. Very good point. So this orange, because of the saturation and the brightness of it, it actually diminishes this neutral color. And so what we tend to do is we do these neutral rooms, and then we bring in oversaturated colors that now take our neutrals and make them look old and tired. But when we see this orange next to it, do you see how, because there's a gray element, I'll come back by you guys too, because I know you want me. When you go with this neutral here, you can see because there's some gray to it, it enhances the gray that's there instead of competing. So look for colors that complete, not compete. And we have a 2-day color class coming up in case you're interested. But yes, sir.
So is there a way in the actual names of those colors to make that association of those
No.
that don't compete? So it's just all eyeballing it?
This is where you learn and train your eyes. And the key is you cannot select color in isolation. So, you know, I could look at this color and think, oh, those are very, very pretty. And they would be the perfect pop for my neutral sofa. But once I put them next to the other colors, then I see how they complete. Now, in the color class that I teach, we label the entire deck. So when you look at the deck, there's a special number on there, and you know just by looking at the number, oh, that's a completer, not a completer. But once you start training your eye, you're going to be more aware of this. So when we look, for example, at the tablecloth colors here, absolutely beautiful, but it's a very, very saturated. In most houses, that color, we would want it to have a little bit of a gray undertone for all the neutrals and the grays that we're using on the walls. And I could do all day on color. But the one thing that I want you to understand, the day of these boring, bland palettes all throughout the room is gone. Our eyes are hungry for client. Our clients are sophisticated enough that they want some color. You just need to use it carefully. And the other thing is, go back to my zone thing. If I've used color in this zone, I need to bring it up into that zone, because remember, I want to bring the eye up.
Our eyes are hungry for color, not eyes are hungry for client.
Yeah. Oh, is that what I said? Well, your eyes are hungry for clients too. Let's I mean, that's why you're all here. Your pocketbook's hungry for clients. Okay, so as we look at these two pictures, when you look at the picture on the left, what do you notice first? Those yellow walls, right? Those yellow walls say, hello, I'm all that matters. And look how tired and dingy the sofa looks. When you look at this picture, what do you notice first? The yellow tub. So again, it's the saturation or intensity of the color that matters. Those walls could have been a muted yellow, and it would have looked fabulous in there, maybe. And that sofa could have been a muted yellow. So understand, saturation is the key, not what is the name of your color, because blue means a lot of things. Yellow means a lot of things. Draw attention to the money makers, the things that made you put the price on that house that you did. Now, one of the things that we often see when we are staging is this particular furniture arrangement. If I was decorating a house, I would not arrange my furniture in that way, because it's not conversation friendly. But staging the house, it's perfect, because it takes your eye exactly where you need to go. Hey, this house is worth money. Look at this fireplace in the buildings. Everybody recognize Fraser. And of course, being Seattle-based here, you know that the furniture arrangement was all about Dad's TV, right? That we never saw. But if we were selling that penthouse, we know there's a view of the Seattle skyline off of the terrace there, and there's a fabulous fireplace. So what are you selling? What are your money makers, and how do I arrange? Now, this is where they really dig in their heels. No, you can't move John's chair. John's chair is perfect, but no, not you, John, but John's chair is perfectly aligned with the TV, and John may have a problem, but as I say to John, you know, you're only gonna have to live with that for 4 days, because we staged the house, as opposed to 2 months because we didn't stage the house. So again, help them understand. Or I will say to them, I'm going to make a little mark here on the floor. You put your chair however you want, but the moment that that house is being shown, by God, you make sure that it goes into the direction that I'm telling you to put it in, because I'm on your team. I'm trying to help you sell that house.
I liked what you said though, because she asked a question earlier on how do you convince people to move the things the way that you want
And the
them?
stager. I don't have any trouble with the sellers. I make them leave.
Again, as I said,
But that is a problem.
yeah, it is. It is.
Absolutely.
But focusing on the moneymaker is a great answer.
All right, using the power of placement with furnishings and colors. So as I said, use placement to draw your attention to the money makers. Also use money makers or placement to draw the eye up. So from the floor up, your art should only be 4 to 6 inches above that sofa. You want it to be a very easy transition, so my eye just keeps going up. The other thing is this piece of art should be 2/3 the width of that. So as you're staging, always kind of think in mind of a triangle. As I work from the floor up, and you always work from the floor up, am I creating the essence of a triangle? Because if you do that, as you keep going up, if it keeps getting narrower, again, what's happening is it's pointing to the ceiling. So the ceiling that I maybe can't address, but I'm going, hello, 14-foot ceilings. So think about the way that you can direct the eye to make the property more valuable. So here's a couple of examples. Of course, this is the look that we're seeing now with the casual sofa. But again, see, because, oh, Daniel told me I have a laser. So with that, wait a minute, let me see. Oh yeah, I got it. With that darker pillow, your eye stops there instead of going back to the perimeter of the room. But if there would have been some blue and white Chinese pottery in that cabinet back there, now what we've done is we spread the room out. We gave the illusion of more to sell. Okay, how about the room on the right? We've all seen that room, haven't we? Some of you probably have a mom right now that has a room that looks like that. I mean, let's be honest. So the one thing that happens there is, you know, I don't see the moneymaker. The other thing that you want to watch is as you're placing things, we are all drawn to a certain intensity of color, and we're also drawn to a certain line. So when we look at this room, notice these tall pieces. So it's kind of like two soldiers standing there. Nope, oh, don't come in here. So think about the message that your lines in the room are sending. All the pillows on the sofa, it's like, God, there's not even a place to sit in here. Why would I want to buy this house? So you're sending messages that your clients may not even realize what they're doing. And then we have that black picture up there that just, again, stops the eye. So think about everything in conjunction. Anything, if it's lower than my knee, it shouldn't be in the room. I mean, those are just knee knockers and they're going to bump into it. Don't eat up the square footage. So you may have to sacrifice the swan on the hearth. And then direct the eye path. Here is a room that is what I would call a bowling alley room. It's longer than it is narrow. But by the way the furniture was placed, it became even narrower, didn't it? Mm-hmm. So this would have been a space that would have benefited from a diagonal or a parallel. But I want you to see again, remember we talked about the shape, look vertical, and then we have our candlesticks on parade on the mantle, and then we have all of these verticals. So again, I come into that room and I'm instantly going to feel stiff. Your body language is going to mimic what you see. You want your buyers to feel very relaxed. So add asymmetry, avoid a lot of symmetry in the space, except in the master bedroom. The master bedroom, you want to use a lot of symmetry because it just sends that message of couple to, oh, if I live here, my husband will quit being an idiot. So let's buy the house. All right, here's another example of shapes overdone. Notice we have all of, oops, sorry. Notice how we have the squared sofa, the square cocktail table, the square pillows, the square pictures, and then within the pictures we have more squares. So we need to let the eye rest. The other thing is that notice this lamp encroaching into the doorway. The message it says is the room isn't even big enough to put a lamp at either end of the sofa. So again, think about those messages. And you know what I hear from clients is I'll mention something like that and they'll go, oh my God, I never would have thought of that. And now it's all I see. So help to educate them. And then you're going to be more valuable to them. So don't buy this house because that door is really dangerous. It's so dangerous we had to block it with a sofa. The terrace must be falling off because you can't go out there. Why would you not enhance the fact that you could step out onto that terrace? So again, what are the messages that you are sending as you're arranging the house? Here's a great example of, we have the shiplap walls, so we'll have a nod to that, excuse me. But this is a beautiful connection of, first we have some round along with some verticals. And then notice the candlestick also has some curves. So the room just feels a little softer, or the arrangement feels softer. The one thing we'd want to eliminate is we don't want two pairs. And we don't want all that space in the middle. We want some clean mantle. We want it to always look, when you're staging, like there's breathing room. Some of the other things that we want to think about when it becomes our memory triggers is things that will slow down the customer, because they walk through the house at a certain level. Anything you can do, playing music in the background that's a little slower, we tend to mimic the beat of the music that we're listening to. Serving cookies or a beverage, that's going to slow them down, especially if you have a fabulous kitchen. You want them to stand there so they're taking in the details and not just walking through. So think of things, a bowl of candy in the foyer that they have to stop and unwrap, not a big bowl of M&Ms that a lot of kids with snotty noses have done that. But think of things that slow them down, because the slower they go through the house, the more of a chance that you have of selling it. And then adding that whimsy. Remember the house that. And these were both just nice, fun things if they were appropriate to where you're at. I mean, anyone seeing that, please bring me my coffee, is going to smile when they see that. And you can picture yourself sitting in that. I had another one, must have been a different presentation we did. The s'more basket sitting right by the back door with the marshmallows and the chocolate and in a great basket, and there's a fire pit outside. So it's like, oh yeah, we could do s'mores here. So send those little messages and remember the house that. Know your limitations. Know when you need to bring in a professional. And sometimes a professional may simply be to deliver a message that you're not comfortable with doing. Using the dots, talking about scores and numbers may help you with that. But sometimes you just need to bring in another person. What I have found is, as I look at MLS photos, I am amazed what people think they should put up on the site when they're selling a house. Some things are better left unsaid and unshowed. So let's take a look at a few pictures that have showed up on MLS listings before. So here's one right here. So what might be some quick changes? Occupied house. What might be some quick changes that we could make in this room?
Move the black sofa.
Move the plants?
Oh, the black sofa.
Oh, move the black sofa, right. Because what am I selling? I'm not selling this little dinky table over here, am I? Or I'm selling this view, and the sofa doesn't pay attention to any of them. Remember the rule, 2/3 the width of the anchor. So that piece of art is 2/3 the width of the anchor. So that art needs to be bigger. Painting out those bookcases in today's world would help enormously, wouldn't it? It would modernize it. So there could be some very simple changes that you could make in that house. Yes, it really was on an MLS photo. There's a site out there. So yeah, yes, George and I sit together every morning and have our morning discussion while the dog eats his breakfast. And there's a site out there, and I think it is called worstmlsphotos.com. And this truly was on their site there. Now, that's definitely going to be a conversation that you need to have. So, Mary, On a scale of 0 to 100, I'd have to score this bathroom an 8.
We're gonna get the 8.
Yeah, it was big. I'm trying to be positive. Try to put a positive spin. Work with me here.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. My mom had a glamour photo done of herself, or a portrait, and she hung it over my bed, so she's always with me. Again, some things just shouldn't be seen. And she probably gave it to her husband for their anniversary. Oh. Excuse me. Now this is a tough one because he needs every one of those screens. He needs every one of those electronics. And if you take them away from him, it is physical pain. All you can do is tell him what he's missing out on if he doesn't do it. And as I will say to people all the time, you brought me here to tell you what you needed to do. What you do with that information is up to you. But I got your back. I'm going to tell you what you need to do, and then hopefully you're going to listen to me. Now, my green means go stickers, I'd run out of them in this room, wouldn't I?
The whole room just.
Woo!
Bless you.
Okay, I'm here for any questions or comments or anything. That means I taught you so much already that you're like, okay, we know it all, Joanne. We're ready to hit the world. Yes.
What about how simple do you keep rooms? Like if you're showing square footage and you want to make rooms look larger, how simple do you keep the staging? Or do you go ahead and just do those cute little vignettes in a certain area and then keep the rest simple?
I think furniture-wise, in the power zone, you keep that relatively simple. You know, sofa, 2 chairs, cocktail table, 1 lamp table. You don't need both of them. Some kind of a sideboard. When you go up to the next level, you're going to keep it simple in the sense of size. Like when you look here, they have great art here that is big and makes a statement. So it's more about the number of pieces than anything else. Okay? Yes.
As far as color, I know we have plasma like the gym, but what are you seeing the popular colors are now? Because you know when you go in,
Gray is still hot. The difference is that the last couple of years we've been seeing the blue-based grays. Now we're seeing the warm-based grays because brass is back, warm woods are back. So where we were looking at grays before, we were doing grays more like this that had a lot of violet or blue to them. And now what we're seeing is the grays are getting much warmer. So this is an orange-based gray, red-based gray. So look for grays that have a warm undertone. And you may say, well, how do I know which one it is? Well, as soon as you pick up a cool gray, then you can see it. So this is where I'm saying it is all about comparison. Never pick a color in isolation. So the warm grays are definitely in. The turquoise, the blue-greens that we've been seeing for a number of years, they're still here. They're easy on the eye, but we're seeing more saturated colors. I was just at the market in Las Vegas, and there was color everywhere and much more intensity, even on wall colors. So I just had my daughter had this tiny little dining room, and it was painted a green, a yellow green, and it was very pretty, but she was ready for a change. So I suggested she paint it black, and she did with all this white woodwork. And the whole time she was doing, she's like, Mom, are you sure? Are you sure? I said, oh my God, it's going to be fabulous. And it is fabulous. And I would do that in a staging house in a heartbeat, because her dining room is like 12 by 14. It's a tiny dining room. So even if I didn't like black, it's going to catch my eye when I come in, and I'm not going to feel overwhelmed that I got to paint all of this black because it's a small room. So don't be afraid to use a really deep value, and by value I mean, you know, up and down the strip. Don't be afraid to use the deep value somewhere else in the room, in a powder room, in an office, in a dining room. That kind of unexpected, and that gives you that other point. We're also seeing the golds are coming back in again. The yellow oranges, they haven't been gone that long, and there's a reason for that, because so many cabinet colors have those warm colors in them, and so you really need the golds to make it work well.
One other thing, if you don't mind me jumping in, is we have the seasons here, definitely 4 seasons, and doing the colors according to the season really makes it a difference as well, at least in your accessories, your throws and pillows and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Can you talk a minute about carpeting? About
No,
rugs?
get rid of it.
Throw
Throw rugs, no. Tried area rugs that anchor conversation rugs. Yeah, area rugs that anchor conversation area, I think, are important acoustically in our homes that have so much tile and hard surface floors anymore. So they are good. Make sure they're big enough. People tend to buy them too small. So in a conversation area, it should be a minimum of 8 by 10. Scatter rugs need to be picked up in the bathroom, in the foyer, in the hallway. If they're smaller than a 3 by 4, they need to go. Okay. All right, Mr. John, it's all you.
All right, thank you. Let's give
Hey,
Joanne
thank
a
you.
round of applause. Okay, so I'm just gonna spend just a couple minutes explaining exactly what we do and exactly the services we provide and whatnot. So, how many of you are already members with us? A couple. So, okay, so basically we work on a membership program. And it's just $60 a year. It's kind of like Costco, and it gives you access to the shared rental pool to either rent or to put items into it to have other people rent. And then just, you know, really unique aspect of the business. And this is Trisha, by the way, Tomlinson over here. She is the founder of the company. And besides the unique aspect of being able to put items in, get paid commissions, we're also web-based, which is really nice. So it's really convenient for your busy schedule, where it's kind of like Amazon one-click shopping. So how many of you currently rent items to stage your listings? So imagine just going onto a website, one-click shopping, fill up your shopping cart, and then you can have it delivered. And then you do the setup, or you can have our guys do the setup. And so we have 3 different ways brokers like to use us for. 1, just purely rent. They just want to rent stuff or put stuff to be rented out, collect a commission check. 2nd, they do something in between. So I have a ton of brokers, especially from Windermere right now. So I had a broker from Windermere North. Anybody working in Windermere North? All right, so Chris Royer came in, and he sat down with one of our interior designers and used us for $75 an hour for 2 hours of design time. And then she pulled Carrie pulled the project together and then made tear sheets so he knew exactly what goes into what room. And then our guys with the delivery service did all the heavy lifting. So all he did was spend a couple hours just kind of watching Carrie pull the project together, and then spent a couple hours watching our guys set up everything. That house, by the way, 7 different offers and sold for $70,000 over the asking price in Kirkland. And it definitely had to do with the stage for sure. And so we are a great in-between, especially for the quick turnaround. I know that some of you are like, my stager is booked out for like a month. Reach out to me. All of you have your email address, and we might be able to do something in between to help you out with the design assistance at $75 an hour. And then with the white glove delivery service, you're really not putting in a lot of extra work. So the delivery service is $120 each way, $120 for the stage, $120 for the D stage, and that's about an hour, up to 30 minutes of unloading time, up to 30 minutes of drive time. Anything in addition to that gets prorated at $90 an hour, just so you know. And then the third option is we just do the full stage for you, because again, you have a big project, your stager's busy, you need to find someone. They do phenomenal work. Trisha and Megan and Carrie, we have a lot of builder accounts at this point, and the quality of work they're providing, and I mean, they're winning bids left and right. So if you need any of that range, basically we're like a big buffet. Whatever you need, we got it. And we just want to be able to serve you and help you with your business. And the last thing I want to talk about, it's going to take a minute. We have a great closing gift program, by the way. And the great thing about that, the color course, by the way, Joanne is running is going to be this Friday and Saturday. Information is on the back of that questionnaire sheet. Typically the price is $1,200, and it's going to be $9.95 for our members for Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5 p.m. Even if it's not something you're interested in, but you have stagers or you know interior designers, someone that might be interested, please let us know. That's one way you can say thank you to Joanne, is referrals for that color course would be greatly appreciated for that. So that'll be in our new Everett location on Friday, Saturday.
A color certification when you're through with this course, by the way. You can put on your business course that you have color certification.
And then the last thing is our closing gift program. So I'm going to email you a couple of documents on the closing gift program. Here's why it's pretty simple. One, you will never have to spend $1 on it. You will never give me money. You will never cut a check to us. We're actually going to cut you a check, multiple checks throughout the year. So basically, we have two big moving parts with the company. One half is the share rental pool. If you haven't seen the warehouse, you got to take a peek before you leave. Otherwise, you're like, this is the tiniest thing I've ever seen. Wait until you see the warehouse. That's the wow factor, okay? So the second moving part is Tricia has built relationships with over 100 vendors at wholesale pricing. So for your clients, here's why they will love you. They can work with us, get a couple hours of design assistance complimentary. So we take care of that. You don't have to pay for that. So they'll work with the interior designers, sit down, we'll help them design to furnish their newly purchased home. And then after they pick out the items they want, we have it delivered here to the warehouse. We build everything for them at no extra cost. And then if they want to use us for the delivery, yes, we can deliver it, install it into their new home. The main value is the wholesale pricing. You will literally save your clients thousands of dollars as opposed to going to Restoration Hardware, Room and Board, Crane Barrel, and we have the same items at the wholesale pricing. Again, it's kind of like Costco. So it's like when you're upgrading from the apartment to the house, everybody gets a Costco membership. So really, for your clients, everybody should have a membership here. So we give you a 10% referral commission. It's a no-brainer. I'm not asking you to do anything different with your closing gift program. All I'm asking you to do is when I email you the certificate, print it off in color, put it in a really nice envelope, and just add it to your closing package. Just add it. It's a numbers game. If they want to come and work with us, great. If they don't, no worries. You lost nothing. All you did was provide an opportunity for your clients to work with us to get great wholesale pricing and have a really good experience to furnish the new home. And then we just give you a 10% referral commission. The one-page document will explain it. If you like it, great. If not, no worries. Also, the questionnaire sheet, if you could please fill that out. Here's what we need to know. We need to know if there's enough really demand for this kind of stuff that we ran today. We would like to know if your other brokers, your managers, we normally run these events for $45 for a 2-hour sip and learn. Today, again, was complimentary. And so I doubt it'll be free ever again, to be honest. So if you could fill that out to kind of give us a little bit of information to see what other topics you'd be interested in, what are you willing to pay for, what did you enjoy today, and any other thoughts. So any other questions? Yes?
What do you need to bring for the design consultation?
Design consultation. Carrie, Megan, typically they just need like pictures, dimensions. Anything else, ladies?
What you say?
And this is a huge niche, by the way, that's happening for us. Is I have brokers that are like, I have a quick turnaround. I just want to spend a couple hours at $75 an hour. Help me pull the project together. They know the inventory really well, so they can do it much faster than you. And then our guys do all the heavy lifting. So technically, I mean, you didn't really have, you had to spend a few extra hours, but you didn't have to do a lot of extra work, if that makes sense, in terms of thinking or labor-wise. So
Save your clients a lot of money as well.
yes.
So what if a buyer, so you actually sell product to keep for buyers?
Yeah, so we have a resale gallery. So our website, by the way, is all live, so it's constantly changing. So every afternoon, if you click on the rent or buy button, it's going to be fluctuating. We add stuff every afternoon as our D stages happen. So in the morning, our trucks are leaving with all the deliveries full. And then in the afternoon, they come back full from all the D stages. It gets uploaded to our website. So it's constantly changing. So for your clients, they have two options. One, they can purchase from the resale gallery, which are the gently used items that stagers are willing to sell. Because a lot of our brokers and stagers and builders, they've already made their investment back. So their sofa has been rented out enough where they've made that money back. So they're willing to let it go and sell it.
So my actual question is, so what if one of the buyers wants to use the design consultation for the resale items? Is that something they do too?
So
like, how do I set this room up? Can they use the design consult and then use your resale items?
Yeah, for the resale gallery or new items, either way. Yeah, either way. Yeah, they can help out with either category.
Can I just jump in on this? Just so you guys know, normally this whole design center is filled with brand new home furnishings that are available for sale at about 40% off retail. We also have a location up in Everett. It's more than twice the size of this location. We have 2 showrooms up there. there's a lot of really cool product that your clients can go there, or you guys can go there, and I would encourage you to do so, because it's actually quite a lot nicer than this location. But the certificates that he's talking about, the 2 hours complimentary, it's really about pulling the project together. It really doesn't matter whether it's resale gallery, or whether it's new product, or whether it's a combination of both. Our goal is really to help your client love their new home and whatever it takes to do that.
Yeah, and it's a great. I mean, everybody wins except for the retail stores, which we're okay with. So, all right. Any other questions? So Trisha, by the way, she's gonna do a tour. If you want to stick around, check out the warehouse, ask some more questions. Please feel free to stay behind. Otherwise, thank you for your time, and thank you again, Joanne, for putting this event on with the workshop. Thank you.